In today's podcast, I want to talk about why autistic hyperfocus is secretly eroding the neurotypical wife's sense of belonging. So there's something happening in a lot of neurodiverse relationships that almost no one is talking about clearly enough, and I hope to do that today. It doesn't look like conflict. It doesn't look like anger. It doesn't even look like disconnection at first. It looks like focus. Deep, intense, productive, impressive focus. But here's the problem. That same hyperfocus that helps the autistic husband feel regulated and competent is often experienced by the neurotypical wife as emotional exile. And over time, that doesn't just create distance. It quietly erodes something much deeper, the NT wife's sense of belonging in the relationship itself. Now I want to frame the core problem here. I want to name this very clearly. Hyperfocus is not just a strength. It's not just a quirk. It's not just a productivity advantage. It's a neurological fortress. And like any fortress, it protects, but it also isolates. So let's talk about what hyperfocus actually is. Most explanations of hyperfocus stop way too early. They say things like, well, it's intense concentration, or it's getting absorbed in a task, or it's a strength in autism. And all that is true, but it's incomplete because hyperfocus is not just about attention. It's about nervous system regulation. For people on the autism spectrum, the outside world feels unpredictable, overstimulating, emotionally ambiguous, and hyperfocus becomes a way to narrow the field, to reduce variables, to create control, and restore internal stability. So when someone enters hyperfocus, they're not just choosing to focus, they're entering a regulated state. Now here's the key reframe, and this is where the relationship impact begins. What regulates one partner can unintentionally disconnect the other. So now let's look at the hidden cost that I'm going to call the loneliness gap. We're going to shift perspectives here. If you're the neurotypical partner, you're not experiencing your ASD partner's hyperfocus as regulation. You're experiencing it as absence, inaccessibility, emotional unavailability. But here's the part that hurts the most. You're physically in the same space, but relationally, you don't exist in your ASD spouse's awareness. This is where many NT wives say things like, I feel invisible. I feel like I don't matter. I feel all alone, even when my ASD husband is right there. That's not about attention. That's about belonging. Let's define the core injury. Belonging in a relationship is not just being loved, being committed, being loyal. It's this. Do I exist in your emotional world while I'm with you? And hyperfocus, unintentionally, often answers that question with, not right now, no. Let's talk about parallel realities in the same home. Over time, something subtle but powerful happens. The relationship splits into two parallel tracks. For the autistic husband, he's regulated, focused, productive, absorbed. For the neurotypical wife, she's waiting, hesitating to interrupt, second-guessing herself, withdrawing herself to get some of her emotional needs met elsewhere. So they're living in the same house, but not in the same emotional reality. Now here's a key insight though. What's going on with your ASD husband is not neglect. It's not selfishness. It's not a lack of love. What's going on is a mismatch of nervous system strategies. But, and this is critical, if it stays unaddressed, it functions like neglect in the relationship. Now I want to talk about why this slowly erodes the relationship. Let's talk about what happens over time. Because this is not explosive damage. It's quiet erosion, slow and accumulative. Stage 1, confusion. The NT wife says, well, I know my ASD husband loves me, so why do I feel so all alone? Stage 2 is self-doubt. The NT wife thinks, maybe I'm just too needy or too demanding of his time. Step 3, there's emotional withholding. She thinks, okay, well, I'll just stop trying to interrupt him because every time I do, it just annoys him and I feel like I'm a burden to him. And then stage 4 is internal withdrawal, where she thinks, I just don't feel close to him anymore. So here's a key point. Hyperfocus doesn't break relationships loudly. It dissolves them quietly. Now let's talk about the misinterpretation loop. We're going to zoom out here for a bit because both partners are misreading each other. The autistic husband thinks, well, I'm just focusing and nothing is wrong. Why are you so upset? And the neurotypical wife thinks, I don't matter. It's not important enough to interrupt that. I shouldn't need this much. But let's do a little reality check here. Neither interpretation is accurate. Both feel true, and that's where the damage compounds. Let's talk about the core reframe, and this is critical. We need to upgrade how we think about hyperfocus. We don't need to be thinking of it as good, bad, right, wrong, fair, unfair, but as relationally incomplete. Now here's the reframe statement I want you to remember. Hyperfocus is a self-regulation strategy that becomes a relational barrier when it has no structured entry and exit points. So now let's talk about from fortress to bridge. Here's where we shift from insight to transformation. Because the goal is not eliminating hyperfocus or to suppress it or shame it. The goal is this: turn the fortress into a bridge. The fortress being his little cocoon over there where he hyperfocuses for extended periods of time to the exclusion of everything else, including his NT wife. Now I want to talk about transition rituals. This is where most couples have zero structure. Hyperfocus begins abruptly, quickly, but it ends very slowly. And the NT wife is trying to figure out, okay, when will I ever matter again? When will I get some of the attention? So now I want to look at some solution framework, a structured transition ritual. We build 3 key points of connection here. Number 1, and this is for the autistic husbands listening, we're going to call it the entry ritual. In other words, before hyperfocus begins. This is a simple, intentional moment that says, I'm going to focus right now, but you still matter. Here's an example script. I'm going to go deep into this for about an hour or so. Just let you know you still matter to me very much. I'll come back and check in at around 7 o'clock or so. Now that does 2 things. It preserves regulation and it preserves belonging. The second point for the autistic husbands listening to this, we're going to call it the midpoint anchor. For longer hyperfocus sessions, a brief reconnect signal could be eye contact, a quick touch, a 30-second acknowledgement. Letting her know, yeah, I'm dragging on a little longer than I wanted to, but I'm wrapping it up here soon. This prevents full emotional disappearance from your NT wife. The third thing the ASD husbands can do is to use a re-entry ritual after the hyperfocus ends. This is the most important and the most missing piece. Without this, the neurotypical partner is left in emotional limbo. So here's an example script. Hey, I'm back. I know I was really absorbed. How are you doing? Now here's a little coaching insight for you. It's not the hyperfocus that hurts the relationship. It's the lack of reentry. Now let's talk about what this does neurologically for both partners. Now we're aligning both nervous systems. For the autistic husband, these scripts that I just offered keeps regulation intact, reduces abrupt transitions, and maintains predictability. And for your NT wife, these scripts that I just offered you, they restore visibility, they restore emotional access, and they restore belonging. She starts feeling seen again. She feels like she has access to you again. She feels like she belongs in the marriage again. Now I want to talk about what neurotypical wives often need to hear. If you're the partner feeling this loneliness, this part matters. You're not too much. You're responding to intermittent emotional absence, and that's incredibly destabilizing. You're not asking for constant attention. You're simply asking for predictable emotional access. Now, this is what autistic partners need to hear. This part is equally important. You're not doing something wrong by hyperfocusing. You're regulating. But regulation that excludes your NT wife repeatedly will eventually be experienced as disconnection. Not because of your intent, but because of the impact. Now I want to talk about the upgrade, the relational awareness layer. We're not removing hyperfocus. We're adding a layer, which is relational awareness before, during, and after focus. That's the bridge. So let's bring this all the way back. Hyperfocus is powerful. It's necessary. It's protective. But without structure, it becomes a silent divider in the neurodiverse marriage. The goal is not to break the fortress, his little cocoon over there where he can spend inordinate amount of hours doing his thing. The goal is to build a door to the fortress. And to the guys out there on the autism spectrum, this is so your NT wife doesn't have to stand outside wondering if she still belongs. Now, if this resonates with you, I want you to do one thing this week. Don't try to fix everything. Just implement this. This is for the ASD husbands listening. One intentional reentry moment. Let me say it again. To the ASD husbands, I want you to do one thing this week. Make one intentional reentry moment and watch what changes. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you. Hey guys, this is Mark. Some of you may not know that I have a lot of books on Amazon. So if you like my videos, you'll like my books. I have several for ASD spouses, for NT spouses, and for the neurodiverse couple. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this link. Feel free to click on that link and see what's available. I'm sure you'll find something that applies to you. So if you're struggling in your neurodiverse marriage, help is available, one click away.